Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And this one I got for you is straight out of St. Louis, Missouri. And this story is encapsulated around our school systems and how our kids are failing in the urban market each and every day. Kids of color. I did a video recently where the Mayor Brandon Johnson of Chicago just put tons of pressure on the entire Chicago school board, and they all resigned. And he handpicked them just a year ago in 2023. So they had their entire school board, which oversees the schools, Chicago Public Schools, resigned, and now he is handpicking a new board as we speak. And there are issues of conflict of interest. But what we're also seeing in many of our inner city schools is that these kids in Chicago, St. Louis, Philadelphia, just for example, their reading and math scores are 2 to 3 grade levels behind. That says that we as parents and the administrators and the leaders of these schools are failing our children each and every day. And we know that our kids are our future. Well, there is a chasm of chaos and disruption that's taking place in St. Louis. Many of St. Louis's middle schools have closed in the inner city. Many of the high schools have closed. And 2 of the most historic black high schools west of the Mississippi, Sumner High School and Vashon, are on the brink of falling apart also. And just as a caveat on Sumner's past history, my father graduated from Sumner. You had a federal judge, Charles Shaw, that came out of Sumner, graduated with my father. Arthur Ashe, the tennis player, went to Sumner. Tina Turner spent some time at Sumner. And of course, at Vashon, you had Donny Hathaway, the soul singer from the 70s, just to name a few historic individuals. Also at Sumner, you had a gentleman named Julius Hunter that was around my dad's class, a year or 2 above him, that was a Channel 4 news anchor for over 20 years. To see a black male face on the local news was historic for black folks. Well, these schools are falling apart, and Sumner has been decimated, a school that could hold a few thousand kids at its premium. Now has barely 200 students there, and it's been on the border of closing for the last few years. Well, Vashon built a new school, and that is the other school that's historic in its representation and presentation for inner city black folks, and it is having all kinds of tumultuous issues at its school. And now the teachers are citing dangerous conditions at Vashon, and they're planning a walkout and have planned one. So let's get into this story. Teachers cite dangerous conditions at Vashon High School. Teachers at Vashon High School say understaffing has led to dangerous situations within the building, including pepper spray used against crowds of students. It is unacceptable that our students who come to school to learn are in a situation where they may be caused physical pain solely because we do not have clear policies in place, consequences for behavior, or effective building leadership, reads the petition from teachers and staff sent last week to St. Louis Public Schools administrators. Our workplace is unsustainable, and we were made promises for leadership that have been broken or ignored completely, the teachers and staff said. Millicent Borshad, interim superintendent for SLPS, St. Louis Public Schools, did not respond to questions on Monday. Borshad and principals from other schools have rotated through oversight of Vashon this year, teachers said. Each day, 20 classroom teachers give up their planning periods to serve as substitutes in other classes, according to Lauren Bowers, head of the math department. Teachers are lucky to get one planning period a week, and they are exhausted because of it. Bowers said during public comments at the October 8th meeting of the St. Louis Board of Education, it is not equitable that it is the end of the first quarter and we still have 4 vacant positions that require coverage, and it's causing chaos. Of the 37 teachers at Vashon, only 15 of them are certified. There are 2 guidance counselors of more than 600 students, Bowers told the board. Listen to these statistics. Our students need social, emotional support and restorative discipline practices because they are dealing with so much trauma. Our teachers need hazard pay and any sort of incentive to teach at Vashon because we are losing incredible educators due to the high stress environment, she said. Now a little history. Vashon opened in 1927 on Laclede Avenue as a second school for African American students in the city, following Sumner High School. The original Vashon building eventually became Harris Stowe Teachers College, a predecessor to Harris Stowe State University. Vashon was nearly closed after enrollment declined in the 1960s and again in the 1980s when the desegregation program bused thousands of city students to schools in St. Louis County. Now, I'm a byproduct of being around in that era. I didn't go to a deseg school. I went to a private school, but I'm in my mid-50s and I went to high school in the 80s, and this is exactly correct. Many of the black students started participating in the deseg program and left the inner city public schools, which built up St. Louis County schools and used those tax dollars and that funding to restore and maintain and to modernize many of your county schools, which left the city schools slightly in a budget deficit and started its decimation. The desegregation agreement included tax dollars for new school buildings, and Vashon's current building at 3035 Cass Avenue opened in 2002. While many SLPS buildings are more than 100 years old, the $40 million Vashon campus has modern amenities and capacity for 1,300 students as a centerpiece of the Jeff Vanderloo neighborhood in St. Louis City. The school has always been an athletic powerhouse, with boys basketball winning its 5th straight state title and 15th overall last spring. But academics have struggled for generations despite strong alumni, community, and corporate support. 10 years ago, students protested what they described as unequal treatment of Vashon compared to magnet high schools in the district. Enrollment at Vashon has grown to more than 600 students this fall. Now remember, they could hold up to 1,300, but they only have 600, and it's up from 480 5 years ago. Say they don't even have half of the building filled with students. Nearly all of the students are black and they qualify for free or reduced price lunch, an indicator of poverty. Now listen to this. The average student enters Vashon High School at a 4th grade reading level and never catches up. 4th grade reading level. Listen to this very carefully. This is a 9th grader reading on a 4th grade reading level. We are failing our future as we speak. Last year, 4 out of 5 students were chronically absent, meaning they missed at least 10% of class time. The 2023 graduation rate was 59%, and the average ACT score was 12.5 on a scale of 36. That is abysmal. 40% of the students are not graduating, and they are scoring less than 1/3 of the total score of 36 on their ACT, 12.5. That can't even get you into a junior college. There were 144 suspensions of students in the first 2 months of this school year, Bauer said, compared to 62 for all of 2023. Teachers said the school's security officers staged a walkout earlier this month in support of Vashon graduate and former basketball coach Colonel DeAndre Davis. St. Louis Public School Director of Safety and Security, who resigned October 7th. The next week, the Vashon security team deployed pepper spray to disperse crowds of students in the hallways and cafeteria, according to the staff petition. Vashon teachers and alumni say morale has also been damaged by rumors that the high school will be shut down before the opening of the nearby National Geospatial Intelligence Agency campus in 2025. So this is called NGA. The government is spending about $11 billion right up the street from Vashon High School and the JVL, the Jeff Vanderloo area. And Black folks are concerned about that, about losing their homes through eminent domain, because the government is going to expand there, and they think that there's going to be regentrification. And that's one of the reasons they may take the school from Vashon and disperse these Black students and make it a magnet school for these white folks that could potentially move into this area based on the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, the NGA. So there's some underbelly of politics that could be playing in this. The solution is not to close Vashon, because that's just going to shuffle these same issues somewhere else. But the solution is to invest in our needs, said Bowers, who is in her 11th year teaching at Vashon. Officials from the city, school district, and the NGA all denied the rumors and said there is no plan to close or repurpose Vashon. Repurposing would be making it a magnet school. The St. Louis Public School Board approved a contract in August to provide dual enrollment opportunities for Vashon students at St. Louis Community College's Harrison Center across Cass Avenue from the high school. Still, the rumors concern former Vashon principal and basketball coach, legendary coach Floyd Irons, who said he would be devastated but not surprised if Vashon ends up closing. We've been fighting closure of Vashon since I've been a student there, Irons said. My heart bleeds blue and white. Vashon is a community for the most part. The current problems at Vashon are not new. In April, the school's principal of 7 years, Brenda Smith, and 2 assistant principals were reassigned to other positions in the district. Borshad, then St. Louis Public Schools chief of schools, installed Christopher Crumble to oversee Vashon. But he has now returned. He has left Vashon and returned as principal of Yateman Little Middle School. So he left. It is imperative that teachers and students feel safe and secure in their learning environment. The incoming team is tasked with creating and maintaining this type of environment, Borshad wrote to the Vashon community at the time. The aim of this leadership change is to enhance safety and security measures, improve communication, and ensure a high-quality learning environment for all. So Vashon is falling apart. There's safety issues. Of course, there are academic issues. There are attendance issues. And I'm doing this story because this is a moniker of what's going on with many of our inner city high schools throughout our entire country. This story says that these kids are entering Vashon in the 9th grade reading on a 4th grade level. What does that say for our future? What does that say for these kids being prepared for the workforce, to become professionals? There's a lot of chaos and disruption that's going on in these poverty-stricken homes. fatherless homes, economic issues, psychological issues, domestic violence. We have a high preponderance of gun violence throughout the city. There are so many distractions for these young kids. And you're seeing that now, when many of these kids have had chaos and disruptions in their home, in their communities, in their cities, one safe haven used to be them going to their schools. But now all of that chaos and disruption has filtered over into these schools, which are supposed to be intellectual learning institutions to build morale, maturity, intellectualism. And there are too many disruptions, fights, bullying that is taking place in these schools. We are going to lose an entire generation. As I said in this story, you have only half of the teachers that are teaching there that are even certified. So we have permanent substitute teachers. So there is a fragile breaking point that is going on the side of the administration and also on the failure of these students. And then public safety is a major issue with the level of fights that are taking place and kids getting injured. This is a very sad scenario. How could you build a learning environment when you have all of these issues that are taking place around these kids trying to learn something each and every day, have a good meal, even getting almost 50% of the kids are not even showing up, let alone are graduating on time. What happens to that entire influx of individuals that will be unprepared for our workforce? Then you topple that with this migrant crisis where none of these people have been vetted, 12 to 20 million people that don't speak English. How are they going to be prepared for this workforce? This story about our inner city kids and not being prepared to be accountable, productive adults. Not only are we going to have 12 to 20 migrants here that we have to figure out what to do with, there are going to be millions of low-income kids of color that will either be a burden on our social services system or they will just run rampant and wild and will be in complete survival mode as they enter adulthood. And what does that say for our public safety? Vashon has to get it together. Sumner is on the brink of closing. These are two of your most historic Black inner city schools west of the Mississippi that could ascertain and have at least 3,000 kids in those schools prepared for learning if enrollment was where it needed to be at its peak. And both of these institutions are falling apart one day at a time. Yes, they've won 15 state basketball championships, but I want to hear a story in this alignment that we have 15 doctors, that 15 kids and students that are being prepared to be doctors, lawyers, police chiefs that are graduating from Vashon each and every year. That's what makes our society sustainable, preparing these kids to be professionals, not just how many state basketball or football titles that you can win each and every year. How are we preparing these kids to be our future leaders? The road to freedom is not through aiming to be an NBA player or an entertainer. The road to your freedom is your education, your intellectualism. That gives you the freedom and the time that you need and how to utilize your time in the most effective and positive way. Tell me what you think about this sad situation at Vashon High School, straight out of St. Louis, Missouri, where teachers and administrators are saying it has become a dangerous environment and chasm, and it is making, not only is it dangerous for the students, but it has become dangerous for teachers, and they are in a crisis moment. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth.